All right, we are here. We are
Hello.
recording. Hello, this is StefIliff. She is a self-love coach. Thank you sincerely for doing this and being a guest speaker in this series. It truly means a lot to me. I've been following you. So I know Steph, well, I don't know her, but I follow her. Yeah, so we have the same coach, Mikkel Rose. And that's how I discovered you is Mikkel's like, you've got to follow her. Look at what she's doing. Look at all the things she's doing. Because a foundation of my business is also self-love. And
Yeah,
so your journey is really, really inspiring. And so I wanted to bring you on so we could talk about
thank
your
you.
journey. Yeah. So before we start, let's go ahead and close our eyes
Okay.
and just let's ground. We're going to take a few breaths together.
Okay.
And as we breathe, we're just going to breathe in Gaia, loving, healing energy. Just ask that source, our angels and guides are with us to seal the energy, seal this container together. And that everybody watching, whenever they are watching, are receiving exactly what they most need in this moment. And we are going to open our eyes and thank you. And I'm going to pull from, I don't know how many, I have so many decks, but I'm going to pull from, it's called Spirit Song Tarot. It's going to be backwards, but
Okay.
yeah, I was tuning in this morning. I was like, what deck should I pull from with her? Because for your energy, because you have such a bright,
Oh, thank you.
bubbly, yes, energy. And it was like, Spirit Song is the name of it.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. So I will just pull one and just see who's with us.
I'm into it.
Cool. Do you have Oracle decks that you use?
Yeah. So right now, the one I've been using, I don't have it in my office, but it's this energy one, and it is seriously like unreal. It's
Oh, you'll have to
crazy.
send me a picture.
I'll send it to you. I went to Golden Braid here in Utah, and like
Yeah.
that place is insane. First off, I
It's,
could hang out there all day long,
oh my
and I
gosh.
literally kept like walking by, and I just like it was like pulling me. I was like, okay, this deck needs to be mine. So I'm like, I just have to buy this, and it literally is like so amazing
Isn't
because I
that,
go through decks like every couple of months. I feel like
yeah. Yeah. That's how this one was. I found this one when I was in Sedona in June, and it was like, you need me. And I was like, okay.
How was Sedona? Was that like so amazing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you would love it.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah, you got to go. You would love it. So I'm going to pull the reading because I don't know what all the cards mean. She's really beautiful, but it's called the Page of Shells, and it's intuition and inspiration. And I'll send you a picture of this in the
I love
description.
it.
So I got to find where the
Okay,
shells are.
right here.
Yeah. Page of Shells. I wonder if that's at the end. Oh, right here, frog. Intuition and inspiration, the message. A walker between water and earth, Frog is your messenger in transition, helping you to reveal the song of your soul. He inspires you with a more rooted connection to your emotional self as you grow into something new and even more wonderful. Frog is a natural romantic with a heart brimming with love, and he encourages you to express your feelings, as this will awaken passions and invigorate your heart. Infinite possibilities of the imagination will set you in motion to unleash hidden talents. Jump at the chance of starting a new, exciting project that strikes your fancy. Oh, that's
I
awesome.
like it. I'm
Yeah, so I'm going to keep him out with us while we jam out.
little frog
And yeah, cute little frog. So we are here.
here.
Yeah, thank you. So talk to me about your overall self-love journey and how that grew into the business that you have. And maybe you want to open up with the business that you have and then talk about, moving backwards, like how you actually got there, because you hold energy for a lot of women. I know you hold free groups where you're located in Salt Lake City, Utah, Powerhouse, correct?
Yep.
And you, like, when you post stuff, your energy is it's so big, but it's so authentic. It's so real. So talk to me about how you found yourself and then now how you're helping women do the same.
Yeah, I love that. So I'll start with how I found myself and then how that got into my business because that
Cool.
like part of my story. But it started. Everybody's like, well, when did it start? And I'm like, okay, I got to figure out like when I really started on this journey because, and I think people sometimes feel like your journey has to be super long or like anything like that, but it's not. Like it's crazy how life works because everything's really always happening for you. You just don't always see it quite yet. And like how everything's always preparing you for your next step, but the universe just hasn't unleashed to you what that next step is. And so if you're just being like present in the moment and like taking it all in, it's crazy like how life just becomes like so rad for you, you know?
Yeah.
And I get like chills just thinking about it, but like it's it really started after I had my first daughter, Ella. So she's 5. She started kindergarten today.
Aww.
And when I was pregnant with her, I gained 90 pounds. So like legit an entire person, not just a baby. I was like, oh, I will also gain 17 babies and it'll be fine. And I was just like, everybody's like, oh yeah, if you like breastfeed, like all your weight will just come off. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just breastfeed. And so it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That is a myth. Whoever
yeah.
Who says that? Because they're lying to poor pregnant ladies. So I'm going to let you know that does not work. And if it doesn't, bless your sweet soul. But like, it just didn't. And so I was over 200 pounds and just, I literally like hated my body. And for women, if you have body issues or anything like that, it literally goes into everything that you do your whole entire life, right? So it shows up in how you are in your relationships with your friends, with your spouse, with your significant other, with partners, whatever it may be, how you show up at work, how you show up as a parent, literally like in all aspects of life, it shows up for you because you don't feel confident in yourself. And so for me, that was where it was at. And so I was like kind of like faking it to make it. I was like, I'll just pretend like I'm confident and like it'll be fine. And it was so not that way, you know? And it was to the point where like I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror, like ever. I would hurry up and get dressed. Like I wouldn't let like my ex-husband like see me naked. I just felt so ashamed of my body. And I had so much shame of like, I'm like, how did I get like this? And so then it showed up for me like as a parent too, because then I became this perfectionist parent because I was like, okay, this is the only thing that I can control. I'm able to control like my food and like I couldn't wrap my head around it, you know? And so I became this like super hyper helicopter like OCD parent, which I totally believe in like schedules and stuff like that, but I was OCD about it. Like everything was like all natural. Like I stressed myself out so bad at being a mom, like, and it wasn't even enjoyable, you know? And so I was like, okay, I am just not being good to myself. I wasn't happy at all. I had postpartum, but I didn't realize I had postpartum. And so I was like, oh, like this is what postpartum is. And I was so afraid to talk to anybody about how I actually felt because I felt ashamed of it, you know? And like, so people are going to judge me if I was like, this is how I feel and this is what's going on in my head. And I didn't realize that I was pushing people away. Like I was self-sabotaging relationships because I didn't feel good about me. And I truly believe like the amount of love that you have for yourself is the amount of love that you allow yourself to receive. And so if you love yourself, you won't allow that love to be received, you know? And so, and when people show you love, no matter what, because they truly love you unconditionally, you will try to show up as ugly as you can for that person, whether you realize you're doing it on a conscious level or a subconscious level. And I didn't realize I was doing that to other people. And so that kind of started my self-love journey. So I started reading different books. I went to school for psychology. So I'm like, okay, I know that I have to get myself out of this. Like it's in my head. I have to work on this. So I started going to the gym and I joined an MLM, and that really helped me just like to feel more empowered about myself because I had to get myself out there. And so then I started just reading some different books and I felt a little bit better and all that jazz. So that was kind of like the start of my self-love journey. So that was 5 years ago.
What was the book, like what was a book that like really changed you or opened you up? Because we all have one or two that's like, oh my God, it was like life-changing.
Totally, yeah. I would say, so that first book that I read then was You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's like the perfect like entry book into self-love. Like it just like super simple. It's very basic. And I was like, oh yeah, like this all makes sense. I'm a badass. Like, why am I doubting myself? You know?
Yeah.
And I love TED Talks. So I probably have seen like almost every TED Talk series. Like I became obsessed with it. So I would watch like 2 or 3 TED Talks every single morning when I was getting ready. Every single day I'd watch a new one. Cause I was like, I just want to learn. I want to change my mindset. I want to grow, you know?
Yeah.
And so that really started that too. And I love just like psychology and how the mind works. But so anyway, so then going forward, again, to self-sabotaging stuff, right? I still didn't fully love myself, didn't fully take care of me in that way. And so all my worth was really based upon achievements and like accomplishment, which is just so sad, right? But now I see it. So it's like, it became like this beautiful blessing. And So I poured myself into being this perfect mom and poured myself into achieving everything I could at work. And I was really successful with that, but still wasn't really actually fully happy. And I wasn't really fully myself. I didn't really fully love me. And I didn't really fully know me, you know? And so back to self-sabotaging, I self-sabotaged again. And this time it was like the ultimate wake-up call for me. And I had an emotional affair on my ex-husband. And this was during the time, so this was like, we had just found out that I was pregnant. And so I felt safe enough I didn't realize during the time, but I felt safe because I was pregnant that I knew it was never going to lead to anything sexual. Yeah. And so it was easy for me to open up to someone, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And, again, I didn't realize that I was like sabotaging myself in the moment because I didn't love myself. And it became the worst thing that happened to me, but yet the best thing that happened to me. Because then that's what woke me up, is to be like, is this really the person that you want to be? Is this the person that you are? And is this how you want to show up in this world? Because this is your one life. And, you know, like, is this how you're going to be for your daughter? Like, is that the example you're going to set? And so that like really changed me at my core and made me wake up to like, be like, you got to figure yourself out and you need to love yourself because what you're doing is not right. And I hated who I was. I literally hated that this is the person that I had become. And so that was when like the real deep inner work started, you know? So I went to therapy, and then I hired a business coach. So then me and my ex ended up getting divorced. And I was like, okay, I need something to just distract myself because that's how I functioned in life. That was like my way of self-sabotage is I'll over distract myself to where I'm so overwhelmed that I can't focus on the real problem, you know? And it was, okay, like you're getting divorced and like all this stuff and everything, you know? And so I hired Mikkel as a business coach. So I was like, I want to be on TED Talks. And she's like, okay, let's do it. And that turned into this whole other self-love journey that I wasn't prepared for. Because she's like, well, what's your TED Talks going to be about? I'm like, I don't know. Probably just about like woman empowerment. So I had been like the youngest VP at my company. And I was all about like women empowerment. And that's all I did at my job was like help women rise. So I was like, I'll do that. And I realized, I never took my own advice that I gave everybody that I mentored.
Yeah.
Like, girl, if you would take your own advice, then maybe things would be a lot different. But through Mikkel, she asked me one of the most impactful questions I've ever been asked. And she said, if you could be healed from something, what would it be? And I always get so emotional. But I was like, if I could look in the mirror and actually love myself, that would heal me in everything. And
take your time. We got time. Take your time.
If I could look at the person that I see and actually be so proud of her and I could love her, like that would change my whole life, you know? And she's like, okay, well, what do you have to do in order to do that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I have so much shame for so many things in my life that I had done. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I started to ask myself, like, what would really heal me, you know? And so that became my self-love journey, was healing, like going through that. And letting go of shame was the biggest impactful thing in my entire life. And it was realizing that this shame cycle I had been in for years and years and years, like I just continuously self-sabotage in so many different ways.
That was the loop you were in. Yeah.
Like it was constant. It was a hamster wheel of shame is what I call it. And I never could get myself out of it. The wheel just changed. So like I was always still the same. I wasn't ever healing, but I thought I was, but I was just changing the wheel that I was spinning out of control. And so it went from, you know, I had a ton of shame wrapped around being raped when I was 16. I had a ton of shame being wrapped. So after I got raped, I got addicted to drugs to like cope with that.
Yeah.
And then I had a ton of shame that was that because I'm the oldest in my family. And then my siblings got into drugs after too. So I was like, like all on me. Like I did this, I set this example, and which isn't the case. Like everybody has freedom of free choice, you know? But I felt really guilty for that I was the one who had done that in a sense. So I had a ton of shame wrapped around that. And I didn't realize because of that, I kept sabotaging my relationships in so many different ways, you know? Right. And I had this like limiting belief still about myself that oh, like you're this addict and you have this addiction behavior to everything that you do. And like, I never fully felt like I could be loved because of all my past, you know?
And it sounds like you didn't feel like you could trust yourself to let people close to you, because if you felt like you were sabotaging other people, then it was like, let me just push you away, because I don't even trust myself with myself, let alone if my siblings decided to get addicted to drugs after me, then it becomes this trust cycle. So you're like almost protecting yourself and everybody else, or that seemingly, right? So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that is the best way to describe it, is I really didn't trust myself, because every time I would make like a real commitment to myself, I didn't follow through with it. I would follow through for someone else, but not for me, you know? And I had this like major disease to please, because I was so worried that people weren't going to like me. And so I would say
guilty.
Yes, right? And I would say yes to everything. I would do everything for everybody else, but never for myself. And it just was this whole process, you know? And so going through just really focusing on that inner work, the first month I really focused on that, I legit dropped 20 pounds, because it was just like emotional weight. Like,
totally.
Women realize like you're holding on to emotional weight so much. And like you can see it like in someone now that I recognize it, when someone's just like kind of puffy around stuff, it's not like actual fat, but if you're just like puffy, it's just emotional. And it's like in your face and stuff, it'll be emotional, and like around your belly. And so I was like, okay, like and I literally felt as if an actual weight was taken off my back, like just starting to go through this process, because I was like, wow, I'm actually going back and I'm healing. And I was, and healing, what I mean by that is I was going back to the story that I was telling myself, changing that story, and then seeing the gift in that story. So instead of saying like, oh, wow, I got raped, this is this terrible thing that happened to me, it was like, what's the lesson and how is this happening for me? And that could be hard for some of you to think of that way, but I promise when you start to see life as what was the gift here? What's the beauty of this? What's the lesson? Why was this happening for me versus to me? It changes you.
What did you find in that?
That life is the best gift of all time, and that I wasn't seeing that, and that you know, through my rape and through healing from that, I learned forgiveness, and I learned what real forgiveness feels like, because I recognize that he was in so much pain that he had to hurt me, because that's the pain that he was in, you know? And it made me realize that like I think the biggest thing of all was that you can't judge anybody ever for any season that they're in, because what season you may be in today is not my same season, and that's okay. And that's why I can only focus on me and my season, and I can't compare. I can't do anything like that. Yeah. And I didn't realize that I was like a judgment asshole. Like I judged everybody all the time until you start to be aware of it. It's like a car, all of a sudden you buy a new car and you see that car everywhere, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm the biggest asshole. Like I'm judging people all the time. And like, is this really how I think? Is this really is that how I want to think? And so becoming aware of my thoughts, becoming aware of how I really showed up in the world, becoming so aware of that really changed me to want to be my best version of me. And I was like, okay, every day you get a choice, like choose that and choose it, you know, like beautiful, right? And I've always been super positive, and like I said, I've always been that, but I was that for everybody else, never for myself. Yeah. And so finally I was like, okay, do the work for you so you can become your best you. And it felt kind of selfish at first, because like, again, I had this disease to please, right? But I realized that if I don't become my best me, this movie that I keep watching of me sabotaging myself, I'm going to watch this over and over and over and over again. And I'm the only one who can make the plot twist. If I want to change what this character is doing, I'm the character. I got to be the change. So if you want to see change, be the change. And when I realized, I'm like, okay, this is all on you. And you've been telling people this all the time anyways, like just start to change and start to heal. And for me, I was always, like I said, I overwhelmed myself with busyness. I didn't have to sit and like think. So learning how to meditate was beautiful and power. Learning how to journal, and like journaling so much and writing everything down and creating rituals of that and routines of that, really, that changed me 1000%, because I actually heard what I needed to hear from myself for the first time.
Yes. You know, I love that you talked about characters, because what we fail sometimes to realize, because we're, again, never taught, is that we're the lead character in our own story.
Yes.
But we're not the lead in anybody else's story. So we're all focused on us being the lead. And so I love that when you start to look at the other character of like, well, what are they experiencing in their lead story? So much pain, like the guy that raped you, so much pain that he had to cause pain on you. That was his story, and he's the lead in his. And so when we can shift back and look at like, I'm only the lead in my story, and even your partnerships and your friendships, they're the lead in their story.
Right.
Yeah.
And it becomes powerful because you realize, okay, it's up to me. And like, and it makes you, like I said, I think one thing is the way I see the world is so different now, because I truly see everybody with love and light, because that's how I want to be seen. Is I don't want someone to judge me for what I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, because that was a season of my life, and that season had to happen in order for me to be and blossom into who I am today. And whatever's going to happen now is going to blossom me to my next steps too, you know. And that it taught me that I can't judge someone for a past season of their life. I can only see them for the present and the moment, and like and because that's how I want to be seen, right? And so it taught me so much of letting stuff go, and I didn't realize how much I held onto things. And then like when you actually let it go, like let it go and like free yourself. Like, why are you holding on to these stories that tell yourself that you can't do this or that you're not enough? And so through this process, I realized I was holding on to all these stories that justified in my head that, oh, you're not worthy of love. You're never going to amount to something. You're always going to be like, in my head, I was like, oh, you're you're fat, you're ugly. Like, these are the things that I was telling myself. Right. Yeah. And I didn't realize that this is how my mind was working every day until I became aware to it. Because it would be like, oh, that's a cool tree. Oh, I love that coffee shop. Oh, you're fat and ugly. Oh, I love this. And I'm like, wait, how did that just process? Like where did that just come up from? Why did that just come up? Yeah. And so then it's like learning how to ask yourself that, and then healing from that and dealing with it. And then that started this, just me like finding myself. And through that, I went and tried all these new things. I did like so many new things. And I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, I'm doing all this fun new stuff. And it was so amazing. And it started with me rock climbing. So I went rock climbing for the very first time. And I was like, okay, so this was like a limiting belief that everybody had told me for my whole life, because I'm just a short little girl, that they're like, you know what? You're not an athlete. You can never be athletic. You just don't have that coordination. And I was told this like since I was little. Because I tried out for all these sports and I could never do it. And so my parents were just like, you know what, maybe that's just like not your thing. Like, you can do dance and whatever. And my brother was like this crazy, awesome, athletic kid. Like, he's so good, and he's so good with music. Like, he can hear something and he can just go play it on the drums. And like, he was just so good at everything. Right. And so I was like, gosh, I just want to be athletic like him. And I want to be able to have that in my whole life. And I was just told I couldn't. So I never tried again. And so I literally, since I was like 9, stopped trying to play any sport. Because I was just like, in my head, that's what it was, you know?
Yeah. That's what you were told.
Yeah.
As your truth. Yeah.
So I decided, I'm like, you know what? Screw that. I've done all this work. I'm going to prove to myself that I can do anything I want. Whatever old story I've told myself, it's up to me to change, right? I'm the character of this. And so I'm super afraid of heights. I'm super afraid of hand-eye coordination because I thought I couldn't do it. And so I'm like, okay, the only way that I'm all about immersion therapy. So the only way to get over it is you jump in no matter what. Like, and it became like this whole year of me saying yes to anything that freaked me out. And it changed my life forever. And so I went to go rock climbing, right? And this girl's like, okay, cool. So it's your very first time. Like, who's here to belay you? I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that means. And do I have to have a person here? And she's like, yeah, well, it's like a partner thing. Like, you have to have like a friend here because they have to belay you. And like, unless you're just going to go free climb and stuff. I'm Boulder. I'm like, girl, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, yeah. And she's like, okay, so how did you get into this? I'm like, I legit just Googled it and I showed up here. Like, what are we doing? And she's like, okay. She's like, well, you have to have someone belay you if you take this class, and you have to have a friend here with you. I'm like, okay, well, what's your name? She's like, Whitney. I'm like, okay, I'm Stephanie. So we're friends now. So like, you're just going to do it with me, right? And she's like, okay, sure. And
I love it.
She's like, actually get off in 5 minutes. So I'll do it with you. I'm like, cool. So we do it. She teaches me all these things, right? And I'm like, so just fun fact, I'm super afraid of heights. She's like, okay, cool. Like, you're going to be fine. You're like harnessed in. And so I did it. So I climbed up to the very top, and I just sat there for a second, because that wall was not just a wall. It was so many other things for me. Yeah. It was like, hey, you just climbed this. And all it was taking it step by step, and just go as slow as you had to, or as fast as you had to. Because there's times where I could go really fast and I had to go slow, and I had to sit and be like, oh my God, my heart's freaking out. Okay, you can just do it. Talk yourself back into it. And I just got there and I made it to the top. And I just remember looking down and I was like, you did it. Like, all you had to do was just do it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just proving to myself that no matter what, you can do anything. You can climb any wall, and you just have to do it just step by step and just get to the top, you know? And it was this beautiful moment because I faced the fact that I can climb any fear, that I can do this, that I could do it, that all I had to do was prove to myself, you can do it. I just had to try. And I never tried before.
I always share too that there's power in, like, people underestimate the power of the baby step. I'm like constantly saying this to my clients and to in my Facebook lives, like, you underestimate the power of the baby step. You don't have to take a huge leap every time. Sometimes it's just the baby steps. And I don't even want to say just, because that minimizes how powerful it is. So oh man, keep going. What an amazing story.
No,
this is amazing.
It was so awesome. And then me and that girl became really good friends.
Of course.
Yeah, she like ended up moving to Moab, but she's like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry, I can't keep climbing with you. I'm like, oh, it's good. And then I met and then I realized like climbing became this whole community too, right? And it's like this whole partnership. Like you climb with certain people because they like who are better than you, because they teach you how to climb the next hardest wall. And then once you get off that wall, you kind of like find like a new partner, like who's better than you again. And so it's this whole mentorship that you don't even realize is happening, where people are teaching you to climb the hardest wall, and they're believing in you, and they're pushing you, and they're at the bottom, just like, yeah, go to the left, go to the right, go here. Like everybody's like guiding you and teaching you. And so it taught me, what if I just became a student of life like that? Like there's always someone being a teacher. There's someone always there to mentor you, and there's always someone to catch your fall, and someone will always guide you to the next rock. You know,
goosebumps. Goosebumps, right? Yes.
And then you got to give back. So what happened is I started teaching people how to climb. I'm like, oh, you want to climb? Like, and so I taught them on the entry walls. And then someone was teaching me how to climb up, you know, a V10 or whatever. Like there's all these different categories and stuff. And so it just became this like beautiful gift. Mm-hmm. And through that, I just like, it was just all these processes, I don't know, just like of life. I just kept trying all these new things. I had always told myself that because I was bigger that I couldn't try all this stuff, you know, so I wouldn't do all these activities so I was the one truly missing out because I didn't love myself enough to put myself out there, because I thought people were going to judge me and reject me. And so I just started like saying yes, anything that I would have normally said no to, I was like, yes, absolutely, yes. And I tried all these new sports, I tried all these new workouts, I tried all these new things, and I was like, I love this about me. Like, I do this, like, how come I've never done this before? And I'm actually kind of good at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff I totally suck ass at, but I'm having the time of my life. And I'm putting myself out there. I'm getting courage. And every step I learn something about myself. I'm like, oh, cool, I met these new people, or I learned this. And it just became this beautiful journey of self-love through activities, and then self-love through healing inside, and then through nature too. Like I found so much just life in nature. I started hiking all the time. I started being at peace with that. And then that helped me like really just to love my body and stuff too. Cause I was like, wow, I can like be outside and be in nature and just sit in silence. And it was just like this beautiful, beautiful journey of me realizing that I'm enough, no matter what, I'm enough. And I'm so full of love. And like, and I literally love myself. Like, and it became this process where I finally was able to look in the mirror and really love who I saw. And it was like the best thing ever, you know, and a lot of time and like a ton of affirmations. Like I legit would stare in front of the mirror and be like, okay. And for my body. So I have really bad stretch marks all over my stomach. And that was something that was really hard for me to love. And so I would sit in front of the mirror and I would just stand there naked and be like, okay, say all the things that you love about yourself no matter what. And for like, the first time I did it was for like 30 seconds. So I was like, oh my God, that was too intense. And then I'm just staring at myself and like the stretch marks are out, like everything's out, like all this stuff. You know, you've had kids, like all your stuff's just everywhere, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And, but they became, if you have any self-love problems or issues, which I think every person does at some point, stare at yourself in the mirror, let yourself be seen. And,
because if you start to see yourself,
then
you start to allow others to see you for who you truly are. It's and it's the most uncomfortable work. I have my clients do the same thing. Like you got to do mirror work. Like, and I love that you started at 30 seconds. Because it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be forever. Like do it. And I'll do it for like 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes, whatever I needed, whatever feels right. But it's like exactly what you're saying. If I won't let myself be seen by me, I'm definitely not letting the world see me. right?
Yeah.
And like you said before, I didn't let anybody really in. So I knew tons of people and everybody felt like they knew me, but no one really knew anything real about me. I was very surface with everybody. I was very just like surface conversations, and I would always turn it into, well, you tell me about blah blah blah. Like I would make them turn it into a question so they had to talk about themselves, so I didn't have to talk about me.
Yeah.
And now I like the only conversations I have are like real, like this, like legit deep conversations. If it's small talk, I won't. I'm like, that's a waste of my time.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's like, it's almost like it's like nails on a chalkboard now. Like
yes,
I just can't even. Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
No, even like people at the checkout, I'm like, well, tell me about like your life. Like it's not. They're like, well, blah blah blah. Like they're like, sorry, you gotta go. I'm like, oh no, this is just how I operate. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so life that is just like this beautiful, beautiful gift, and I really found like healing in everything that I did. And to back up a little bit, so when I really let go of the shame from my emotional affair, that was like one of the biggest things. That became like really, really healing for me and my ex too. And just like, that was probably one of the most healing things I've ever done for myself, because it let go of all the shame of everything else, because it was like, that was the final straw kind of for me to finally wake up and get out of the hamster wheel and be like, okay, I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of how I show up. I'm in charge of how I feel about myself. Yeah. And that was the last like thing that was sitting on me so heavily that I couldn't like breathe almost, you know?
What was that and you don't have to go into all the depths of it, but for somebody that might be experiencing shame, whether it's for the same reason or other reasons, how did you finally let go? Do you feel like it was really just like an energetic, like, you know what, I'm just going to choose? Or was it?
I mean, it was definitely like, I read a ton of books. So like Braving the Wilderness was really good for that. And like the 4 Agreements was really good.
Yeah. The Braving the Wilderness, that came up like while we were talking. Cause I was like, yeah, when you're searching for evidence that you're not worthy, you're going to receive evidence of whatever you're looking for, that you're going to receive the evidence of it. So why not start to receive the evidence of what you want?
Like
what feels good. Yeah.
Your best self, especially for women, right? And we want to prove we're right all the time. So like, and self-fulfilling prophecy is like, just like that, is like, I get to choose that. Like I was choosing the stories to validate why I wasn't enough. Why I started to choose the stories that I was enough. And that became the stories that I started to write to myself. And every day I would write down the affirmation that you are so worthy of love. You are enough to be loved. And I wrote down like, your mistakes don't define you. And
I love that.
Right. And I'd say past season is not your current season. And for me, like this seasonality thing, like just made sense in my head, because I was like, okay, if you can just focus on this for this season, and you can heal yourself in this season. And I truly believe you can do anything for 90 days. That's a season, right? And the universe has told us that that's true, because the universe changes the world in 90 days. The universe revolves around that every season. So the universe has already given us this beautiful gift that says, hey, you might be going through some shit, but it's just the season. Or, hey, this might be this beautiful season for you, but it's also just this season. So enjoy the moment, like enjoy the present. And I did this really cool exercise. I went to this workshop, and they had us do like all these like highs and lows of your life, from the earliest stage of your life to the current. And then they had you to do, so they had you make dots on it, and then like do the dots like you drew a line. And what I saw was, after every one of my biggest lows was my biggest high. And so I was like, oh, you know what? The universe is doing all this for me. And like, this is all like this beautiful gift, is that through every low is the best lesson that shoots you to your next high. And you can't have light without darkness. You can't have, you know, like it just, you get to see the gift of your darkness, because it shot you into like your best season. And then it's just like that life is really seasons. And so you have to just be present with it and engage it. And I was like, okay, universe, like what's the next lesson? Like, let's go. Like, I'm ready for you now. Now I see it.
Yeah, now I get it. Yeah.
I see it. And then it was, journaling was huge for me in letting go of that, because I had to get out all the things that I was mad at myself for. And even like to the people that I wanted to say stuff to, but like, why would I go say that to them actually, you know?
Right.
And then like burning those letters, like I probably did like 17 burn letters about it. And meditating about it a lot, and just being at peace with it, and really saying that doesn't define me. And I was also seeing the gift in that. And the gift was that it woke me up to make sure that I can be my best self. And had I not had that pivotal moment, I would not be where I'm at today, right? It propelled me to be like, you better choose who you want to be.
Yeah.
And you better show up as that person every day of your life, because I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and hate yourself and then go to bed and be like, that's not who you want to be. And in every area of my life, you know? And on the outside looking in, I looked very successful. Like, I had this awesome job, awesome career. We had this house, like family, like all these things, right? But it's so easy to have that and not be real about it. And so now I'm like actually really happy, and it's like totally different, and it's just beautiful. And so that started, I was like, holy shit, I found like the ingredients for the best cookie, and that cookie is self-love. And like, and it was from trying all these new things, from healing myself, from going to therapy, from hiring a coach, from like having really hard conversations, asking myself why 1,000 times, journaling and doing all this inner work, reading. I can't tell you how many books I've read and listened to, and podcasts and TED Talks, and like growing my mind every single day, and then stopping consuming what was hurting me. So like, I changed how I ate. I changed what I did with my body. I wanted to move my body. I wanted to honor my body. The words I use are different now, like that, you know, like everything. And I stopped watching TV, even some music I stopped listening to, people I stopped hanging out with. So I was like, I'm so aware of what I'm consuming, and whatever I think about is what I become about. So I only want to think about what makes me my best me. I want to be so in control of my thoughts and so aware of
it. Really is that choice. And you,
right.
It sounds like all I see is you just taking action. You just were like, you know what? I'm not just going to continue to dream and wish that I felt better. I'm going to do something about it. And you took extreme action on choosing your best self. And that's where I think people sometimes get lost, is like, well, I want to feel better. But it's almost like they're scared to like let this old self go, because that's where the subconscious keeps us really comfortable. Because, hey, we already know this. We kind of figured this out. But you took action. And it sounds like to me, you found the discomfort, like the comfort in the discomfort of all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, of going to the rock climbing wall and making a friend, being like, okay, well, you belay me. Like, that takes some courage. That's some courageous ass shit. You know? Because a lot of people wouldn't do that, especially if they're overweight, especially if they don't feel athletic. There's so many reasons there, but you were like, no, I don't choose this anymore. I choose different for myself.
Absolutely. And I just believe in, I am kind of an extreme person, but I think immersion therapy is like the best thing for you to do, because you'll just keep talking yourself out of it, right?
Totally.
So Mel Robbins has the 5-second rule. And so I
just watching her this morning. It's so funny.
Gosh, like my favorite. So when at my old company I worked at, I would always make all my managers, I'm like, if you feel like you have something to say in a meeting and you want to be impactful, don't talk yourself out of it. Talk yourself into it. You have 5 seconds. Go, act, make it happen now. And like, if you want to go push your team to do this, whatever it is, like, stop talking yourself out of it. Go and act. Like, so I gave myself that same advice. I'm like, anything that you think that you should be doing or you should say to someone or anything like that, you have 5 seconds. You have to say yes, no matter what. And so I just couldn't talk myself out of it. And that brought like the most amazing life experiences. And I met the most amazing people. And like some of the stuff I got to experience or do, I was like, how is this my life right now? And it was just from saying yes and like putting yourself out there and not being afraid. Like, and it doesn't mean that I wasn't afraid in the moment, but it was, I kept going because I was like, I know what it's going to feel like to win. And the win is I did it, right? And I know what it feels like to lose. And the lose is to go home saying, oh, I didn't try that because I didn't think I'm enough. I didn't think I was worthy enough. I felt like I was too fat. And then it's like all this, whatever it may be, you know? But it's like, no, who's saying that? There's not one person who told you that except for myself. So why don't I just change that?
Oh, that's powerful right there.
Yes.
That was like, that's such a powerful line you just said.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, I think that women, because I just know so many right now that I coach and mentor, that like, who told you that?
Yeah.
No, just you.
Just you.
Yeah.
And that's like the story.
I love that.
Writing the stories was that too. And like Brene Brown is super big on that too. She just says like, so that's the story you're telling yourself. Choose a new story. It's literally that simple. And it's so simple that we try to complicate it. We're like, oh, I could be happy if I did blah, 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 blah. No, you could be happy today. Just choose it right now.
And I love there's a line too I was listening to this morning. It might have been in the Mel Robbins one actually. And it says like, it's really that simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Mm-hmm. Yes, the choice is simple, but there's going to be work, right? Like the journaling, the showing up and recognizing when you're like going through, oh, that's nice. I like that. I'm fat and ugly. And then I like that. Whoa.
Yeah.
So it may not always feel easy, but it really is that simple to make the choice every moment, not even every day. Cause sometimes I know for me, like I can make the choice when I wake up, but I got to remake that choice throughout the day.
Long, right? You're showing up for you all day long, you know? And on the days that you can't show up for you, show up for someone else.
Oh, I
And
love
that's what
that.
I can't quote that. It's Brendan Burchard, but that's one thing. So I went to his conference in May.
What's his name?
Brendan Burchard. He's amazing.
Okay.
All his books, his podcast. That dude is light.
I wrote it down. Okay.
He's amazing. So I went to go see him talk, and he talked about that. He said, like, any fear that you have, it's a boat that you made for yourself, and you built that boat. You can also tear that boat down. So he said, he's like, burn the boat and just get a new boat, and you ride that boat out, and that's it. And I was like, yeah, brother, it is. And he's like, and that boat is your life. Make your own boat. And
I love it.
And he's like, on the days that you can't get in that boat for you, like you can't get up, you can't get out of bed and be like, I got to be my best self for me today. It's like, then you do it for someone else, and you look around, who are you doing it for? And also that's what life is. Like, you should be making an impact for other people, not just for you. Like, and that's how you find like real self-love too, is you're like, oh, hey, here's my gift that I was innately given to give back. Like, you are given a specific gift. Every single person has a specific gift that you are given that is so innate to you, that is literally just who you are. And you are meant to share that with the world. But you won't find that until you actually love yourself, because you won't feel like you're worthy enough to share that love and whatever your gift may be until you do that for yourself, Yeah. And that's like that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is when you hit the top and like you have self-actualization, you're like, holy shit, this is what I'm meant for. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I should be with everybody, right? Yeah. And so it was like this cookie recipe was that. I was like, oh, I found like this self-love. I actually love myself. I've been healing. I got to share this. And so I decided, I'm like, okay, I'll host a free event, and like whoever wants to come can come and hang out, and I'll talk to them about like self-love and like how I did it. Because people were talking to me like, you're so different. Like, you've changed. Like, you're legit glowing. You're so happy. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I found self-love, people. I found it. Like, it's here. And everyone was like, okay, well, where do you find it at? Is it at aisle 12 at Walmart? Like, yeah, where? I'm like, oh, girl. It's going to be aisle 12, 10, 11, 17, like all the aisles. You're going to have to work for it. But like, I love what you said too, like, it is that simple, but it does take work. And it's like a diet. Like, every day you got to choose it. You got to prepare for it. You got to decide it, and you got to stick to it. And you have to be consistent. You can't just go journal for 2 weeks and be like, oh, my life's different. Like, you're going to have to forever. Like, it's going to be long-term. And that's what you have to create. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, self-discipline is self-love to me, because I had to be self-disciplined enough to do the work every day, no matter what, because I knew what it was going to make me feel like. You know?
And then recognizing that motivation is actually an emotion, and emotions are like waves, right? Like, they're always up and down. So if you're relying on motivation versus self-discipline, you're going to be relying on something that's really unstable. So
Absolutely. And sometimes you can't always motivate yourself either. And so if you just be like, well, this is just who I am, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And then you become self-disciplined with it. Yeah. And so,
and you've been so disciplined, because you just recently was it a figure competition or bikini?
A bikini competition. Yeah.
Oh, man, you looked amazing on stage.
Bless you. Thank you.
You did. And I know, like, that takes so much discipline. Like, that
was the hardest thing I've ever done, actually. Like,
I believe it.
So hard. But that was one of my like fear things, was to be in a bikini in front of anybody, because I have never felt comfortable in my body like that ever. And then just to see like what I used to be so afraid of lifting weights, because I thought people were going to judge me because I didn't know how to do it. And so that's why I hired a trainer. I'm like, okay, well then you have to do it. Like, it scares you have to do it.
Yeah.
And so I hired a trainer to help me like learn how to lift. I'm like, well, I want to learn how to lift. And that became the coolest experience, was to learn the mind muscle connection. And like, if I can turn on a muscle with my mind, I can tell myself, hey, do this, and it will turn on, and then to learn how to turn on that muscle. Like, it took me so long to learn how to turn on my hamstrings. Like, and my coach would try to do all these different things. I'm like, I can't feel it. I don't know what you want. He's like, oh my God, turn it on. I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I'm like, he's like, does this hurt? I'm like, I don't know. Like, no. And so I was like, okay, I have to solely focus on this muscle, and then it will turn on. And so he's like, close your eyes and just do this. And so I would do it, and I'm like, oh my God, I can feel it, and it hurts. And then, so it became this cool lesson in me that whatever the mind really does focus on is really what you can do. Like, and all you have to do sometimes is close your eyes and just focus. And when you focus on it, turn it on. And so that can be like your life, right? If you're like, oh, I just want to love myself, then focus on it and close your eyes if you you have to. And that when I say close your eyes, what I mean by that is shut everything off in the world if you have to. Don't talk to friends for a while. Don't talk to whatever you got to do. Do whatever you got to do to turn on that muscle, to turn on that self-love, to grow that mind. Like whatever you got to do, do it. And it taught me even more how powerful my mind is, that my mind, my brain can literally turn on a muscle by me just saying, okay, focus on this one thing right now. And then it would be like this insane thing. So I was like, what else can I do that with? You know?
Let's play.
Oh my God. Like, and it just was like, so it was, and it's impactful. And I don't think people realize that power of that, you know? And so that's why I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to do a show, because that is going to me to prove to myself, like the hardest thing was my food addiction and stuff too. And so that became this beautiful journey of that, and just like learning the power of food and like your energy behind food, and how to not have a cheat meal and shame. Like, so, and just like I would eat privately because I was so afraid to eat in front of others. And I was thought people were judging me when I was eating in front of them. Like I would always cover my mouth if I would eat, or like just like weird stuff I didn't realize until I started to really pay attention to it. And or I'd be like, oh, they're gonna think I shouldn't have ordered that. Or like say I got like a meal somewhere and I got like a side, I'd be like, oh, and then for her, she wants, like I would literally like make up a lie that I was ordering extra food for someone else. So I was so afraid that they were like judging me.
Yeah.
And so it became this really cool thing of recognizing that and like letting it go and finding how powerful food is to actually heal you and that you need it, and to just change my mindset about food. So it became this really cool thing that like was just awesome. So yeah.
Wow. And so now you have group coaching and you coach one-on-one, and you have your powerhouse meetups that are local in Salt Lake City, but all of your other stuff is online. So talk to me about just your offerings. Like, is it, just talk to me about it, like your group and your one-on-one and how people can reach you. And
yeah, absolutely. So like last year I started my free events of just talking about self-love, and that just became like something that I love to do. And so
they're big now.
They're big now. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
It was awesome. My very first one was actually super cool too. Like, so 50 people showed up to my very first one, and I was like, what? This is like so rad. And I never felt more alive in my entire life. And like I totally messed it all up. Guys, I have like a speech impediment, all these things, right? But it was
really,
like I stutter and stuff sometimes, and I'll go like you won't always hear it, but if you're around me enough, like you'll recognize it. And I just almost just did it. I caught it though. But, so when I started talking in front of people, it wasn't perfect, like at all. So my advice is just go do it. Because how else are you going to perfect it? How else are you going to get good at it? It takes 10,000 hours to be perfect at something. So you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if no one shows up, okay, there's still a lesson in this. I still get it. Like I got out there, I did courage, like it's courage, like it's all this stuff. Right. And then when everybody showed up, I was like, oh, this is so rad. And then I messed up all my words, like whatever, but it was beautiful. I was like perfectly imperfect. And that taught me that like, this is what I'm meant for, is to like talk to women and like anybody I just want to make them feel like how I feel now. I need them to feel alive, because I know what it feels like to feel dead inside. And so I did that. And then in January, I left my job and started doing this full time. And so I do free events every single month for any women who want to come just connect and get together, because I realize like the power and connection of that. And just like when women rise together, we can make such a bigger impact. And
yes, like
learning how to not compare each other and to love each other is one thing that I really try to teach, is that like we don't have to compare each other as women. Like we are all, like I said, like you can't judge someone for your season. Just love each other and like show them love and light no matter what. And then you show yourself love and light through that too. And you give yourself love and light, you know? And then I do group coaching and I do one-on-one coaching. And then I always have some sort of an event happening like every week. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I'm not as good on Facebook, but you can find all the things that we're doing.
And I'll make sure to put in all your information so people can find you. And so so there's a meditation that I guide my women through. And I remember I listened to you recently. I think it was on Instagram or something. And you were talking about a meditation that you guide women through. And I was like, that's really similar to mine, but you have a very distinct difference at the end than I do. And it's like a higher self meditation. And I don't want to give away your ending, but I wanted to know if you'd be willing to walk us through it just briefly. Like you can shorten it, but walk us through the meditation. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like your higher self?
Yeah. Like you do like a higher self. And then at the end, you ask a very specific question.
Yes.
Okay. And because I don't want to give it away, because I'm like, and I was like, oh, I really want them to do this, but it's not mine because I do a different one. No, but I would love if you would just walk us through just like maybe a 2-minute version or just whatever feels good. Would that be okay?
Yeah,
As we close up? Okay.
for sure.
Cool. Awesome.
Just tell me now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just do it with you.
Cool.
Right. Get grounded for a second here. So
Yeah.
close your eyes. Just take one breath in and then one breath out. All right. I want you to picture your absolute best self. Everything about her. What does she look like? What does she feel like? How proud of herself is she? What has she accomplished? What does she do? How does she show up in this world? Like, really picture it. I want you to just feel it. It's so close to you. All of this is within you right now. You have all the power to be this person. Everything that you can imagine, you can be. You just have to let yourself be. So I want you just to keep picturing her. I want you to picture it that you're going through this beautiful, beautiful little meadow. And there's flowers everywhere, and it's just bright and sunny and light. And you're just walking, and you feel so free and so happy and so content and just so full of peace. Your heart is literally warm, and the sun is beaming on you. And you can just feel everything is just happening for you. Life is beautiful, and life is such a gift. And it's so amazing. And you just stare off, and all you see is just happiness and light and love and beauty. And you literally see the world as beauty because you finally see yourself as the beauty that you are. Now I want you to turn around. And when you turn around is everything that you had to let go of to get here. Just look at it all. Look at everything that you healed from. What did you have to do to get here? What is everything that you had to let go of? All the old stories, the old beliefs, what people told you couldn't do, what you told yourself you couldn't do. All of that is in that old meadow. It's all left behind. You left it there. You never have to go back. But ask yourself, what do you have to leave behind so you can see your best self and fully step into that light? And that is how you heal yourself. Breathe in. Breathe out. And you can come back.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sincerely, that's beautiful. Oh man, that's super powerful. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yes. I want to thank you for coming on today. And if you had just one piece of advice, which we got a lot of amazing advice today for someone, just maybe they're starting, maybe you're in the middle, what would you leave them with on this self-love journey and finding maybe their passion and showing up?
I would say don't stop and just keep going, and making sure that you're asking yourself really hard questions and getting to really know yourself, because if you don't really know you, you're not going to let someone else know you, and you got to try new things to get to know you. And I think for women, a lot of time we feel like it's selfish to like take this time to like heal ourselves, or people feel like it has to be like 3 hours a day or something. It's like, even if you do 20 minutes of inner work every single day and you stay committed to it, I promise you your life will be different. And it all starts with how you think. Like 1000% change the way you think. Just start to become aware of your thoughts. You get 70,000 thoughts a day. And how in control are you of those thoughts? Because you can be perfectly in control of them. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to control all of that, but it's like that you become aware of it. And so start to become aware of how you actually think would be my biggest step of advice, because the more aware you become, the more you can change. And then grow your mind every single day and decide like, okay, does that thought empower me or disempower me? Is that a thought I want to keep, or is that a thought I want to disregard and shred bin it and never want to focus on that again? And then if that is the case, why did that thought come up for you? where's that story stemming from, and how do you change that? Because that thought might not ever go away, but you can get that thought to become where it's super loud here to super quiet here. And you can recognize when that thought comes up, like, oh, that's a thought that's disempowering. I don't allow that thought here anymore. So bye, Felicia. And
yeah.
thought you want. And it's really that simple, but it's going to take time for you to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And when you do that, that is what will change your life 1000%.
Yeah. Repetition is the key to mastery. And I think that sometimes we forget that. We just want it to be overnight, and it can happen really quickly, but go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, we live in a world where like Amazon, you get what you ordered now, you can get it today. Like the same. But it's like the satisfaction is going to happen through the hard work, because you get to look back when you're in this beautiful meadow, and you get to look back and you get to see this mile-long journey that you went on, and all the rocks that you had to leave behind, and like every little hurdle, every little fall, and you're going to be like, damn, that's beautiful, because that's what got me to where I'm at today. And without that, you want to be where you're at today. And you get to see the gift of all that, and you get to realize you can just leave it all there too. You don't have to carry it with you anymore. Whatever isn't serving you, leave it there. There's no one telling you to keep carrying it, just you know. So
thank you so much. This was sincerely even more. I knew this was going to be an amazing call, but this was even like more amazing.
Bless you.
No, I'm serious. So thank you so much, Steph. I really appreciate your time and your genuine energy. And I will send you this link when I get it uploaded to YouTube.
Hey, perfect. I'm so excited.
And I'll let you know the feedback too as the women watch it today and this week.
And if they have like any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to them.
I will. I'll let them know. Thank you so much. Okay.
Bless your face. Bless you.
I love you too. You take care.
You too.
Okay. Bye.